When you know what kind of personalities you need in your agency to fit into your culture, when you meet those people out, they may be looking for a new opportunity, and you just mentioning it may be the opportunity they're looking for.
Being a leader, you're not always going to be there to be just during the good times. Sometimes you got to be there in the bad times too. And that's how you know you've got a good culture, is in the bad times, everybody's still equally participating.
It takes time to develop leadership skills. So we also have to nurture our leaders the same way we expect our leaders to nurture our teams.
All right, guys, we are here for the final podcast on leadership and development in conjunction with our Agency Ascent course. It's all about bringing skills and tools to emerging leaders inside of your organization. And we're going to talk a little bit about crafting your insurance dream team, right? So how do we have strategies for success when we think about building a team? And maybe it's building a team due to growth. Maybe somebody's leaving. Maybe it's replacement or upgrade, or just structuring. I get this question all the time. How should I structure my team? What makes the most sense? And so this is something we do cover in our Agency Ascend course. So we're going to give you a little sneak peek, but we definitely recommend you train your leaders. And we have a course that's launching this month, and it's only $495. You own it forever until the end of the month. So do not delay, people. Get in and get that course, because there's only a few days left. So Bobby, what in your mind makes an insurance dream team? Like when you go into an agency, you're like, damn, that team is bomb.
I think it's when everybody knows their role and they can be functioning at their optimum potential within that role. And it's not exactly the same at every agency. And so I think you really have to sit back and analyze and know, what is it that I'm trying to build? So I think about, the basketball dream team, right? Like everybody had their role. They knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing, and they were all there for each other, and that's how they won the Olympics.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is how we want to build our team. What does our team need? What do they need to know? And I think, no role is more or less important than any other role. When we look at those things, sometimes in agencies, what I find is that, oh, well, I want a promotion, or I want to do more. But I'll tell you, the person who answers the phone or changes the toilet paper roll is just as important to me as the person who signs my paycheck. Right. So I think we all have a role to play. And so we really need to sit back and understand, what is it that we need in order to power our agency, and then build those roles around those things so that we know how to get to success. It is so crucial to do that, and for everybody to know, and then know, what are those characteristics? Your team might be small. So I think participating and knowing, what other agencies, or working with someone like us, where we can bring that information to you. I kind of think about what we do as kind of the conduit of passing of information, almost like what works, what's successful, and what can work for agencies. And knowing what those characteristics are. Like, have you ever been to an agency where you're like, wow, they're doing some really great things, I would like to do those things too. And how do I do that? So those are a lot of ways that we can help you, because we've been in so many agencies and we've seen the way that it can be done, that we can help you identify, okay, if this is your vision and these are your values and this is what you need for a dream team to move you forward, because a 3-person agency is going to be really different than a 25-person agency, than a 150-person agency, than a 1,000-person agency.
Sure. And I think in order to get the dream team, we all have to be comfortable with the idea that if people aren't buying into the vision and the values, et cetera, we may have to go out and recruit, or sometimes you have to recruit due to growth, right? And knowing what that is. So Therese, do you have any tips for people how to hire and recruit? Because I think insurance agencies feel like they're in the matrix, and it's like this complicated thing, because we remember a time where maybe you did put like your job ad on Monster and got like 12 qualified candidates within 5 miles of your house. And now today, the whole game has changed. And I'm going to be honest with you, people listening, get over the resentment of the fact that it's hard to hire. It's hard to do everything today. It's hard to serve your customers. It's hard to hire. It's hard to keep customers. All of it's hard. It's not, but that's an excuse because I love it, Therese, when I tell people, I'm like, okay, you're having a struggle hiring. Where's your job description that's posted? Like, can I see it? Well, we don't have anything right now because we took it down because it didn't work. And I'm like, so you're not actually trying to hire then because you have no actual anywhere that says you're hiring anywhere. So nobody would know you're actually hiring, right? And they're like, well, because we only get crap. We get unqualified resumes. I go, yes, it's now the online dating. It's job searching is I could apply to freaking 50 jobs in 3 minutes. So put the qualification questions in and stop complaining. You just need one. You just need one. So sorry, Therese, but tell me.
I love the tip that you always mention, always be hiring, because I think we just kind of close our eyes when we're not in the agency and pretend like we're not hiring. But you'd be amazed at how many people at a grocery store that you could actually find that actually might be a good fit for an insurance agent. And don't you think an insurance job is an upgrade from working at a grocery store?
Let's say weekends.
Yes. So I have found that when you go to the grocery store and you run into somebody that's just spunky and spontaneous and excited about life and just they're good service people, they talk to you when you're walking by them in the grocery store, you ask them a question. That's one place. I actually tried to hire a guy from my husband's company because he's just awesome, but he doesn't want to change jobs because of his age. The other thing is CE courses. There are a ton of people taking CE courses that are licensed that actually may be unemployed. There are different places, networking events where you meet all these, you don't want to go steal licensed insurance agents from your local competitors. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when you know what kind of personalities you need in your agency to fit into your culture, when you meet those people out, they may be looking for a new opportunity, and you just mentioning it may be the opportunity they're looking for. What's the worst they could say? I'm not interested. Well, it's not going to break your heart. Your heart wasn't set on it, but it doesn't hurt to ask and say, hey, I have this opportunity. I think you'd be great at it. You take a course for a week, you take a test for insurance, you become an insurance agent. We'll do all the training. So be a salesperson when you're out in the world on the nights and weekends talking to people, because you should always be hiring. And make sure that you're clear on Indeed or whatever system or technology you use to hire. Put information out there, make a clear job description so the person knows what they'll be doing. And you may want to add training on there as well. What kind of training do you offer? Because people who aren't in the insurance industry or aren't very good at insurance, they'd love to know what the training looks like, how you're going to teach them to do what you guys do every day.
I think it's really good. And I also just tell people this, like, people are not going to stay with you for the rest of their life. Like, you hope that, but sometimes the wrong people, you know what I mean, are the ones that stay with you the rest of your life. And so I think we all have to grieve the fact that hiring and employment is different than it was. We're not going back to that place. We now need to write a compelling job posting that gets people's attention, that says why to work for you. By the way, if you don't know why someone should work for you don't know what the benefits are of the agencies in your town, you don't have anything compelling, it's a sales job. You're to have your value proposition. And that's how you're going to find the best people. And also to Teresa's point, from the time I got a job out of college, I never had to look for a job again. It was a phone call, right? Like, people were interested. I'd have lunch with people. I'd keep my LinkedIn. I'd make connections. If I was interested in making a move, I made a couple phone calls and people came to me. So you also need to build your network up so that maybe the best people don't want to go and sit in a bunch of interviews. They just need to be there the day they have a bad day, right? This also goes into how do we build a strong team culture? And I think to me, culture is like, we run through a building, right? Like, we understand we're going to go out there and slay it. These are important things that we have to talk about, but culture is everything. Like, I can walk into an agency at this point within a minute and be like, okay, we're good. Or, oh, like, you just see on people's faces, like the vibe, the energy, it either feels good or it feels really like just like stressful and tense. And like the person greeting you at the front is like, who are you here to see? Not like, good morning, how are you? Like, it's just terrible. I think we need to be very clear of the strong team culture that needs to happen. And that happens because, like, you have an inclusive team. No one's talking smack behind each other's backs. Or my personal favorite that seems to be coming up in more and more, the agency has a de facto police officer that is so busy, but seems to be double checking everybody else's work and wants to let you know that they came in 3 minutes late and they didn't do this and this and this and this. And what are you going to do about it? That's not good team culture, people. First of all, especially if they're de facto police, they're not even a manager. They're just like policing other people's work that they don't like. That's not good. The signs of a good, strong team culture to me are open communication. Everybody feels like they understand where they're going. There's accountability. There's metrics. There's clarity. It is 110% not operated on feelings. There's a clear leader. People follow the leader. They're not self-policing each other. The absence of leadership means everybody is like at one of these like college campus war zones, right? Where it's like everybody for their own self. Like no one's talking sense or reason into people. And I think you have to really, really identify the fact like there's a leader, this person is being respected. And that means that maybe I don't want to make 10 cold calls today, but the leader asked me to, and it's part of my job description. So even though I don't want to, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to make excuses. That there's accountability, there's a consequence, there's rewards. When we win, we celebrate. And that's what helps get everybody through the tough times, right? So being a leader, you're not always going to be there to be just during the good times. Sometimes you got to be there in the bad times too. And that's how you know you've got a good culture is in the bad times, everybody's still equally participating. So Bobby, how can we develop these leaders into, the high performance teams? Obviously, in order to have a great team, there has to be a great leader. So how can agencies find or select a leader? And my question to you too is, do they have to have insurance experience?
I don't know that they have to have insurance experience, but we better have a way to train them with insurance experience. And I do think that teams tend to respect leaders more that have insurance experience, that have come from where they are. And I think that's how we've gotten into that situation where, oh, well, this person was a high performer on their team. And so now, we're going to move them into this role because they were respected doing what they were doing. But we didn't necessarily give them the skills to be a great leader. So I think what we need to understand is that it takes time to develop leadership skills. So we also have to nurture our leaders the same way we expect our leaders to nurture our teams. A lot of times we just throw them into their roles and go, okay, here you go, figure it out, instead of really giving them the strategies that they need. And so we need to give them the ability and train with them and coach them and role play with them. Ask them, how are you going to have this conversation with this person? Be their mentor and be their guide and help them to develop their skills so that they can become really amazing leaders. And I do think, there are places within an insurance industry and within an agency that don't necessarily need insurance experience. However, if you have a commercial team reporting to someone who only knows personal lines, how are they going to help them with those things? So we need to figure out how we're going to get them that training if that is the best person, or understand maybe that isn't the best person.
Well, and I think it depends on their role too. Like an operations manager who can, the right person, I think, can pick up insurance, but they can also pick up like efficiencies and just that fresh perspective. We've got a couple agencies that hired outside, like just really good leaders, operations people. And like they picked up insurance, but their goal was also never to do an endorsement. It was to know enough about it. Say, if you were out, I could do a certificate. I could do it. Would I do it as good as you? Probably not. But to kind of keep the train on the tracks too. And communication, technology development, setting goals, holding the one-on-ones. Like there's a lot of manager that's like a good percentage of your day is the HR side of things that can bring some in there. So this leads us to the next one, which is like, you have to measure. Like all leaders must measure. If not, if you don't have facts, your team's going to come to you with feelings. You got to breathe and say, first things that happens, your team comes to you with something. Are you venting or do you want me to solve the problem? Because you have to listen differently when someone's venting than when you have to solve a problem. I'm a problem solver. So if somebody comes to me with an event, I'm like, great, I've got 5 solutions. Do you have a whiteboard? Are you ready? And they're like, I didn't want you to do anything. I'm like, why did you come here? I can't, like in my head, it just doesn't compute because venting to me is like a waste of resources and energy, right? This goes into all the different personality types that are out there. So I usually ask, are we venting or do we want to problem solve? And hopefully people can tell you, I just need to vent. Awesome. I can kick back and my problem solving brain can go click off and I can support you. But my dominant personality is to solve the problem. So you have to show metrics. But then the second thing is if somebody wants you to solve the problem, let's look at the numbers, because the problem could be temporary, right? Like, I'm so busy. Well, yes, we had one person off on medical leave, somebody else is, on bereavement, and somebody else got the flu. Yes, you are busy this week. That's a factual statement. Or, holy macaroni, your book is unbalanced. Thank you for sharing that with me so we can get that fixed. You need to look at the metrics. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're probably going to try to solve the wrong problem, and that problem's not going to totally get fixed, right? So the other thing about metrics is it tells the other side of the story. So if I just get up and I say, all right, Bobby and Steven, let's talk about where we are and what's going on. You're like, what does that even mean? But when you see the metrics every month, you can see where you are. There's more validity and transparency. And I think sometimes owners struggle with what metrics to share. And I say all of them except what you make. Like, well, if they see what revenue, they don't know the expenses. So tell them, put the revenue and then say, this is our expenses. And then it's right there. But I think a lot of times, like, it is a complicated scenario. There are some very, people's payroll and stuff like that should not be shared. But the idea is that when people have the facts, not the feelings, they understand why maybe we can't do something, or why it doesn't make sense to hire somebody else, or why we have to make a move to a different system, or why that carrier we have to book roll it. Like, you have to give that level of transparency. If you have a leader that needs some help, we are here to help them. And I think that, like, I say this to everybody. I learned leadership by messing everything up, but I had 2 or 3 really good mentors that would smack me across the face and tell me I was an idiot and get me back on track of doing the wrong thing. I was a leader where I wanted to be liked, not respected, because I was young and I thought that was going to be the way to win everybody's hearts. I have done all the leadership things you should not do to get to the end, to try to tell, and I'm not a perfect leader either, but, like, in order to develop, you have to give people tools. And the leadership, the ownership of and maybe you're an owner needing this, but the ownership of the agency developing leaders 110% needs to give them tools that are not you just telling them what to do. Because the owners have a different level, like, they have a different magic wands. They have a different level of power and control. The leaders have to run a fine line in between the staff and what they can and can't do and where the boundaries are. And especially if it's a new role, having a leader. And very often I'll tell new agencies, they'll be like, well, this is our operations manager. And then I meet the operations manager and I'll call the owner and be like, tell me about your operations manager. And I was like, are they really just the most tenured person that's more of a team lead than a real manager? And a lot of times they'll be like, yeah. I'm like, well, we gave them a real big title, didn't we? And they're like, yeah, okay. All right, cool. I know what they are then, right? But they think that they're a COO, and really what they are is, an escalation person. And so you have to kind of identify, where is that gap? If you're expecting them to be a COO and they're just really taking people's escalated client matters or answering insurance questions, there's a big difference and there's a gap there. And that's why titles can get a little messy. So make sure that you're checking out this new program. It's coming off sale soon, everybody. So you have until July 31st. Check it out. If you have any questions, let us know. But until then, go forth and conquer your leadership, everybody. All right, guys, we will see you soon.